Do you ever feel like your job is sucking the life out of you? I did too, until I realized that the very frustrations that I was experiencing in customer service was the key to unlocking an entirely new career. So before I just jump into my 5 reasons of why I want to become a UX designer, some of it might not make any sense if you lack the context, so let's rewind a bit. But also, if you don't feel like listening to my background and you don't feel like it would really help you much, then feel free to use the chapters below. I studied psychology when I was in college. When I graduated, I was like, maybe I can become a therapist. Maybe I'll go back into school and get my master's degree. But as soon as I graduated, I was like, okay, do I really want to keep going to school for another 2 or 4 years? And also there's student loans, and like, let's be real, I just really wanted to start making my own money. So I was like, let's enter the corporate world. So my very first job, I was an administrative assistant at a hedge fund. So I was working in finance. And at first I was like, this is like pretty legit. Like, it's your first introduction into corporate world. Like, you're adulting. This is what you do. You sit at a desk and you have a computer. So my day-to-day was I answered the phone, I set up meetings, I set out sandwiches and made them look cutesy, and I filed papers. So I was like the real life Asian Pam in the office. But then after a few years, I was feeling really stuck. And like, you know that feeling, right? So then I got out of finance and I went into digital marketing. From there, I became an account manager. And that's where I started working with a lot of brand strategists, website designers. And an agency really opened me up to seeing like the creative side of things, and like it was super enticing. And sure, like I was helping people. I had my accounts, I had my customers. I would be the liaison between the customers and the designers and the strategists in the back. But I wasn't feeling like I was really creating anything, if you know what I mean. It was more like reactive, like problems would come to me and then I would react to them. But I really felt like I wanted to prevent more of those problems than anything. And that's when the light bulb kind of went off, because I was like, I love website design, but I am not an artist by any means. Like, I kid you not, like my graphic design skills are like actually 0. And I was like, well, is there anything more to this that like I could do? And that's where we segue into why I decided to become a UX designer. And here are my top 5 reasons. One more thing that I have to state, because it's so important, and if you watch my videos, you know what I'm about to say, but this is my own personal experience. By no means, like absolutely no means am I shading customer service jobs. I know people who are in sales or account managers and they literally crush it at their jobs. I just was not meshing well with it, and honestly, I kind of sucked at it. Sorry. I have a lot of respect and it just wasn't for me. So, per usual, don't come at me, bro. The first reason why I decided to pursue UX design was because higher pay and career growth. And before I get called out, this is my own perception of higher pay and more career growth, because I personally felt at that time when I was in customer service, the amount that I was getting paid compared to the level of stress and amount of responsibilities plus the cost of living in California, I could have been making more. And when I was researching for new careers at that time and I looked up UX design salaries, I remember seeing something like 80K to 100+K, and that was in like 2018. I'm gonna post it too. I'm kind of curious what it is today online. And again, when I say higher pay, that doesn't mean that customer service roles can't make that much money. Like, I have friends that make a ton of money in sales, like more than that. And who knows, like if I stuck it out long enough, maybe I could have reached that salary. But that combined with me feeling stuck felt like it was just time to go. In terms of growth, I did feel like there was a little bit of a ceiling, especially with account management. So I was an account manager, and the next step up for that was a senior account manager. And then after that, it was manager. And then after that is probably director. And that didn't feel like a lot of steps if I wanted to stay in a career for a long time. Whereas UX design, like, you can become a UX designer and then a senior UX designer 1 or 2, depending on your company. You have principal, you have staff, you have manager, you have director, and then on top of that, you have other disciplines of UX design like content design, UX research. So I felt like if I wanted to go into a career where I wanted to stay for a long time, it felt like it had more of a longer runway than I was seeing in account management. My second reason why I wanted to go into UX design is I was hoping for less emotional labor. The emotional labor of being in a customer facing role was pretty taxing for me. I felt like I always had to be really upbeat or cheerful and really talkative and super, super patient, even on really tough, exhausting days, was starting to kind of burn me out. And again, like, I know that was my job. But at the same time, it was hard to separate emotions from my own personal life. And don't get me wrong, like UX design, there are tough days. It's not gonna be rainbows and butterflies. If anything, I highly recommend you watch my most recent video about how hard it is being a UX designer so you get more of the tea. And I'll link it up there. And it's so important to know that before you get into any career, that despite whatever job you're in, there's gonna be ups and downs for both. Anyways, so if you're interested in any of my UX rants, because I am so for real, you're gonna wanna check also this video out because it's a rant. It is a rant. But all in all, like my UX bad days, they just don't compare to my customer service bad days. And I just really feel like I wasn't meant to be like on the stage in front of the audience. I think I was meant to be like behind the curtains. Like I see myself more as like an elf at the toy shop all the way in the North Pole versus like Santa Claus. And Santa Claus gets like all the press. Like Santa Claus gets all the good vibes and like all the good reps. Next reason why I wanted to move into UX design was because I wanted more autonomy. This one like resonates with me so much because I was in so many different customer service roles for so long that now when I compare it to UX design, like there really wasn't much flexibility. And let me explain. I had to stick to like a lot of scripts and a lot of procedures. So like when I was in account management, there was a lot of templates that we had to follow, which makes sense. But because of that, there was very little room for like creativity and like independent problem solving. From like a type A girl like me, I really liked the organization of it, and it was really nice to just fall back on something. However, the downside to that is that it can be frustrating when you have a different approach that you want to try or you know could get to your solution faster and you just can't do it. And so for my next career, I knew I wanted something where I had more creativity involved, where like I can really kind of chart my own path while still working for like a company that has like some process. And I just figured that something like design had that little bit of like innovation, but also there was a process to it because like you are working within a corporate structure and you are working with people and like you can't just go rogue. And because UX design was so involved with technology, I figured that things would be evolving all the time and not every day would be the same, which leads me to my next point. So the next reason why is that I figured UX design was constantly evolving. Design trends are constantly changing. And because of that, the upside is like I'm constantly always having to keep up with the trends, but the downside is that it is really demanding and it can get really exhausting trying to keep up if you're not paying attention and you're just trying to do your job. Again, another rant. I do have a video about the exhausting demands of being a UX designer, so that is also another video you should check out. Okay, the last one is probably the biggest one, and it might be a little bit obvious, but I just have to put it in there. And the reason why I decided to become a UX designer is because I just needed a change. There are so many different paths we could all go in life, and for some reason I think I was like sheepled into this like administrative route, and I didn't know any better. And I felt so stuck and lost that I didn't even know like what career to look into and like really how to get out. Also, just in general, if you're ready to take on that challenge of becoming a UX designer and you want to overcome your fears, watch this video because this was very fresh, like right when I switched into UX design, and I went through that whole process and it was really scary, and I just want to let you know that you're not alone, and I highly recommend you check that one out. So overall, like I'm really happy I made the switch over into UX design. It has been a wild journey so far, trying to learn UX design, trying to find a job in UX design, and I totally acknowledge that the landscape doesn't look too good right now. There's a lot of oversaturation talk. There has been layoffs in the tech industry. But me personally, maybe I'm a little bit of an optimistic here. I still think this field is really needed, and I still think it's growing because it never has to be what it is today, if that makes sense. Like, I could see UX design taking on a completely different shape in the future, but it's like cut from the same cloth. And I still think it's so important to have these designers to make your products really good and sell them. But, you know, that might be a discussion for another day. Now that you know why I decided to become a UX designer, let's talk about how to become a UX designer. And I do have a video on that. I'm gonna link that one here, and I think I'm gonna put another video right here. But that's how I became a UX designer without any previous experience. Highly recommend you watch that. And also I'm gonna put a bootcamp one up here because, spoiler alert, how I learned UX design was through a UX Academy Design Lab bootcamp. Do not blindly sign up for a bootcamp, you guys. Like, watch these videos because they are the honest review about the bootcamp, things that I wish I knew, and then check out my link that I'll have in my descriptions in any of my videos. It really, really helps support my channel if you sign up through this link, and I'd really appreciate it so I can continue to give you all free content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.